Well, with Cleaver Farm and Home, we'd like to introduce Ty Cunningham again. He's a purina horse specialist. We're going to do our session number 2 in a continuing series on horse nutrition, horse ownership. If you got any questions, let us know. We'll get answers to Ty. We'll get answers to him later in the week, next week. Just let us know. But we'll turn it over to Ty and let him have at it.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining in and coming back with us today. Like I said, this is session 2, I guess. And so in session 1, we talked a little bit about weight taking horses and some of the feed and some nutrition. Today we were going to talk a little bit about feeding roughage, and then maybe the difference between feeding some sweet feed versus pellets, and then maybe touch on a little bit of product too. So one of the first things that I guess that we want to talk about is on feeding roughage. And stalled horses or horses that are out on the pasture, feeding roughage daily is probably one of the important things that most people don't think about. And so, on average, you want to feed 1 to 1.5% of roughage a day, whether that is in grass or whether that's in the form of hay. And so, it's easy if you're feeding hay and you have stalled horses. Get a big sack and you can fill your hay full of it, or put however much you think you need in there, and then get you just a set of fish scales. We have some nice purina ones here, and then you can weigh it pretty easy and know how much you're feeding. This right here is right about 7 pounds or so of hay is what this is. So for a 1,000-pound horse, you want to feed about 10 pounds of hay a day, roughage wise. So 1,100-pound horse, 11 pounds or so, at least that, maybe a little bit over. If you're trying to gain weight, it's an easy way to add calories by adding a little bit more hay if they will eat that, and just getting enough roughage in them to where they're having enough fiber in their diet to keep everything moving through at a good rate as well. So that's one of the main things, and I guess important, that we're talking about in feeding roughage, because I think a lot of times there are people that don't feed enough roughage or enough hay to horses that are stalled, or maybe they're not getting enough out in the pasture as well through the winter time. And so we're coming into spring now. Horses are out on pasture. It's a lot easier to get forage and roughage to them now because they will have grass growing. But on the older horses, be careful and watch their teeth. Make sure that they can eat grass, that you're not ending up with little bitty balls of grass or hay wadded up in a stall that has fell out just because they have bad dental work, or they need to have their teeth floated or something checked, where they can eat and they can digest and utilize forage and roughage. So that's one of the things we wanted to touch on just a little bit today. If you guys do have questions, send those in. They're going to be monitoring and looking and checking Facebook, and I can answer some questions if you have any of those. We will try to keep it to 15-20 minutes. If we may go a little bit over, because sometimes I like to talk a little bit too long. But we'll try to keep it right there so we keep you guys interested and we don't keep you here all afternoon. The other thing that we wanted to talk about a little bit was the difference between a sweet feed and a pelleted feed. And so everybody has their own opinion and wants to feed, and a lot of them have a strong opinion whether they want to feed a pelleted feed or a grain. Me, myself, I used to always wanted to feed a textured feed. So I fed a lot of Omeline 200, a lot of Omeline 500, something where I could see the corn, the oats, and the molasses. And I just like to feed a lot of that because I thought that the horses looked good on it. And I didn't feed quite as much pellets. Now, I pretty much only feed a pelleted feed. I feed a lot of the Impact Professional that's down there, and I feed a lot of Ultium Growth. I like the pelleted feed. I like the Impact Professional because it does have quite a bit of soy oil on it, and it's 8% fat, and so their hair will shine quite a bit. But one of the main reasons I like to feed it, especially through the winter time, is the bags don't brick up quite as hard with all the molasses on it, and you don't have to deal with flies quite as much with a pelleted feed as what you do with a textured feed and all the molasses. but I know a lot of people prefer the textured over pellet. It just all comes down to personal preference. The other reason I like a pelleted feed, and I feed quite a bit of it, is because this product is low in starch and sugar too. So on all the colts that I'm breaking and horses that I'm riding with low starch and low sugar, they don't have what I call extra excess, or I call it the stupid energy, I guess, when you pull them out of stalls or if they've been stalled up. They don't want to buck and play around quite as much. I can get straight to work a little bit faster on those than I can when I'm feeding something that's got quite a bit of corn, oats and molasses in it. Because the starch and sugar level is higher, then they feel a little bit better and they have that extra and excess energy that they need to burn off. If you're in the racehorse industry, I know a lot of people, they want the textured because they add a lot of supplements and other products in there, and so it will mask the taste on a lot of that with quite a bit of the molasses that's in there, because a lot of those formulas call for 14 and 16% molasses in those racehorse feeds. And so you can mix powders in there and different things, and it will mix up well and hide things good for horses, especially ones that are picky eaters. So basically it all just comes down to personal preference between a pellet and textured feed, I guess. Like I said, I prefer the pellets. I like the lower starch, the lower sugar that comes in a lot of the pellets. The Impact Professional has quite a bit of soy oil in it, so the fat level is higher in there. It's 8% fat. The hair just shines, the horses look good, but they don't have a lot of the extra crazy excess energy, I guess. So the other thing is, and we talked a little bit, I think, on it at the last session, but I wanted to visit a little bit more on that, is for the most part, all of our feeds, all of the Impact, all of the Omelines that are a concentrate feed are all designed to be fed at a minimum of 4 pounds a day. So at 4 pounds a day meets the NRC and the vitamin and mineral requirements for a normal 1,000-pound horse by feeding 4 pounds a day. So I tell people all the time, this is our Purina scoops that's out there. This that I have in here is 2 pounds of this pelleted feed that's in here. So all they need is this one scoop of this of a morning and at night to meet the vitamin and mineral requirements. If your horse stays in too good of a condition or gains too much weight on that, there are some other products out there, and we have Strategy Healthy Edge, which is high fat, but it's lower calories. So fat and calories does not always go hand in hand. We designed Strategy Healthy Edge with a high fat content for people that trail ride or may only ride once or twice a week, but they wanted their horses to still look good and their hairs to shine, hooves to look good. So we increased the fat level, but the calorie level is lower than that of the Impact products or the Omeline products. So calories lower, but fat's higher, and we look at feeding horses not necessarily by the fat level, but by calories, just like in humans, and the calorie intake. So Strategy Healthy Edge has a lower calorie per pound than what the Impact or what the Omelines or the Ultiums have. So if you get a product and they stay a little bit too fat or stay maybe a little bit too healthy on them at a 4 pound feeding rate, there are other things that you can jump to at certain times of the year if you want to, or you just exercise them maybe a little bit harder. The other thing that we have is we do have all-in-one brochures, and they will have them there at the store as well too, and it has all of our products in there. So everything that we have to offer is in here. It will tell you the protein, the fat, the fiber level, kind of what it's designed for. In the back of this pamphlet right here, all-in-one brochure, it will give the starch and sugar levels on all of our feeds that we have out there too. So these are very handy. They're handy to keep around. They have them at the store, and you can see all the different products that we have out there and maybe what benefits you. The other great thing, I guess, about it is back here in the back, It also will talk about body condition scoring, like we did a little bit on the first, and how to weight take. But it will give you nutritional solutions for your horse. So it will give you examples. I know you can't see it from here, but it talks about horses that are in recreational, performance, pregnant mares, lactating mares, ones that are nursing foals, ponies and miniatures, drafts, even horses that have allergies, and it will tell you what horse or what types of feed or what brands of our feed to try on each of those types of horses. So this is a really nice thing to have. You can also find it online through purinamills.com, but you can get hard copies and you can get the books there from Cleavers. They will have them so that you can pick up and look and have all the different products that are out there. We talked a little bit the last time about Amplify. This is our high-fat supplement that is 30% fat in there. So these are our supplement cups, and I have 1 pound in here, and 1 pound of this product is like adding 2,000 calories to their diet. So it's high fat. You can get one slicked off, shining really good. I use it a lot to self-prep some horses, or if I need to put weight on one really fast. Very low starch and sugar, and so you can add 1 pound of that a day, 2 pounds of that a day if you want, 1 pound of a morning and 1 pound at night. The only thing that I will warn you is if it's an older horse, or if it's something that's maybe not real used to eating a lot of grain, you can get loose stools because of the increased fat level, and some of them may get diarrhea, and so you can back off for 3 or 4 days and maybe increase it back up a little bit if you need to. Ultium Growth, I feed this to all the babies that are here at the place, just because you get a steady, even growth rate on this product. And so I use it on brood mares in the last 3 months or their last trimester of gestation, and then I keep them on that all the way up until I wean the foals off of them, and then I may switch them to the Impact Professional or to the Impact Mare and Foal or something else. But then I keep these babies on the Ultium Growth all the way till they're about 3 years of age, just kind of depending on how they mature out. The great thing about this is they always stay in great condition and they always look good. This product you will feed less of than you will any other product that's out there on the market, just because of the fat level, the protein, and how it makes horses look. The other thing I tell people all the time is with this product, a lot of times when you grow babies, you'll see them get hip high. So they'll get higher in the hip than they do the withers, and they don't grow even over their top line. When you're feeding this Ultium Growth, they will grow even over their top line, and they will grow at a steady rate. What I will tell you about it is it will tell you on the back of the bag as to how much your horse weighs and how much you should feed of it. It's usually about 1 pound for every 100 pounds of body weight, and kind of stick pretty close to that and don't overfeed it. There's people out there in certain parts of the industry, like halter horse people, and they want them to grow really fast, and you can get them growing really fast on Ultium Growth, but you can also get them growing, their skeletal system growing faster than what the muscle can keep up with. And so I tell people all the time, as long as you're feeding by what's on the bag, and you can feed even a little over it, but just don't double that. You can get those horses growing even, and they don't go through growth spurts where they grow fast and slow down, grow fast and slow down. With this Ultium Growth, you can put them on a good growth curve where they grow at a steady rate, and it works phenomenal. It's by far my favorite product on the market to feed to babies or mares in their last trimester, all the way up until 3 and even 4 years of age. I will even recommend it to horses that are 15, 16, 17 years old too, if they need to put weight on them and trying to get a top line and muscling, because of the protein level and the type of protein that's used in this product. So it's by far one of my favorite feeds out there, especially for growing the babies and using to put weight on babies and getting them to grow. The other thing, and Cleavers, they have this in the store now, is the Impact Professional. The Impact Professional has no corn or core byproducts in this feed, very, very low in starch and sugar. So horses that maybe have some insulin resistant problems or horses that have been foundered work really well on this product, or just horses that you're trying to put weight on and you're riding pretty hard and riding all the time. So the calories are there. It's an 8% fat. It is a pelleted product. It's a dark pellet because it's coated with soy oil too. And it will work well even on horses that don't have really good teeth because it is a softer pellet, and it will soak pretty well too. But every horse on the place, just about with the exception of the babies, are on this Impact Professional because I love it. I like the way it feeds. I like the way the horses look on it. They get real shiny. Their hair coat looks good. They like the pellet. It's very palatable, and they like to eat it is the other good thing about it. And it has the Outlast in it. So you have your gastric support, you have a higher fat content, low starch, low sugar, and you can get horses to gain well on it. So other than that, it's just, we want to talk a little bit, I guess, about, we're getting close to the 15 or 20 minutes, and so we want to allow a little bit of time for questions. But just, the other thing is just feed by weight and not by volume. So I like to reiterate that all the time, is know how much you're feeding. Don't just say my horse is eating a scoop or 2 scoops of this. Know poundage wise how much your horse is eating, because a lot of times you can be wasting some feed, or you're just giving them too many calories and you're getting them fat and don't need to, or maybe you're not feeding quite enough. And so we've got the Purina scoops that you can get, and it will tell you pellet versus a textured feed kind of, and on our products, and it'll tell you how much you're feeding. And so I just want people to know feeding by weight is a big thing. I used to be the same thing. Somebody would say, how much are you feeding? I'm feeding 2 scoops of this. Well, is this your scoop? Or is this your scoop? Some people, this is their scoop. So a bucket or a coffee can. So everything weighs a little bit different. So know how much you're feeding by weight, and you can do that through fish scales or food scales. And you can do it with roughage by hanging on here, or you can feed it and hang a bucket if you need to and fill it up. And you know exactly how much you're feeding by weight, and then you know what you're doing, you know that you're on the right track, and you know kind of doing what we would like to recommend, and you know how many calories that you're getting and the intake that you're getting on your horses too. So, do we have any questions?
So one of them is, if I add a supplement or I transition to a new feed, what is your recommendation on transitioning a horse over?
So on transitioning a horse over, we try to tell people to go 5, 7 to 10 days. So I tell people for the first 2, 3, 4 days, feed half of your old feed and half of the new feed that you're transitioning over to. And then feed that for about 3 days or so, and then go to 75% of the new feed that you're going to, and then 25% of the old feed. And then after about 7 to 10 days, you can go right straight over to your new feed. So that's kind of the transition period that we like to tell people to go by to be safe.
Do you recommend add, if I mix feeds, a pellet and a texturized, or just all 2 different feeds pellet, or how do you recommend?
So that all depends, and that gets a little bit tricky, because I'll be honest, and I've got about 5 horses here that I'm riding that's 2-year-olds right now that I feed Ultium Growth and Impact Professional, and I mix them together is what I'm doing right now, so that I get a higher protein and more fat out of this and can feed less of it than what I would have to, because I'm riding them pretty hard. They get rode 6 to 7 days a week right now, and in the summertime, sometimes like on the weekend when I'm not doing my purina job, I may ride them twice in a day, just trying to get them somewhere, or get them further along in their career or riding. And so there are a lot of people that will mix them around. The thing is with mixing our products, you're still getting the same kind of vitamin and mineral package when you stay with products that are a concentrate feed. And so it's still at about a 4-pound feeding rate. So you can feed 2 pounds of this and 2 pounds of the Impact Professional and still meet their vitamin and mineral requirements. What I tell people a lot is when you start trying to cut something though with oats or with corn is when you start running into problems and you start really messing up a ration that we have worked pretty hard at to get nailed down to know how it feeds. So I know a lot of the PhDs would probably be hammering on me because I mix Ultium Growth and I mix Impact Professional together, but sometimes that works well for me. A lot of times I feed just the growth straight, but right now with some of the babies that I'm trying to get, or the 2-year-olds I'm trying to get them to, I guess in the show industry, like with hogs and some sheep, when you talk about trying to get them to pop over their top and get a little bit more muscle and definition, I'll use a little bit more of this because I can get it done quicker and faster with the Ultium Growth than what I can the Impact Professional. But the main thing is if you're mixing within the Purina family, you're doing pretty good and you're not messing up the ration. What happens is when you start throwing in and say, I want to feed Impact Professional, but I want to cut it with oats. When you start doing that is when you start messing up your vitamin and mineral package and you start adding a whole lot of starch and sugar to your feed when you start using corn or start using oats. So that's when you start really messing up the ration. So where if you're mixing kind of within the families or staying within Purina, you're still doing okay. It's maybe not ideal, and what I do may not be exactly ideal for what they have them formulated, but that works pretty well for me.
That's all the questions we have.
That's all the questions. Well, we're running over the 20 minutes, I know. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them in, comment, I guess, on Facebook or on the live. And so we can get those questions answered and get some questions right back to you, or the answers right back to you if you need to. So stay tuned. We'll be coming live back in a few weeks maybe, and we will have a session 3 and we'll go maybe a little bit more in depth and talk about some more and some other products that are out there. Thank you for joining, and until next time, we'll see you later.